Huge shout out to Xbox for giving me the opportunity to go hands-on and get a brief preview of one of my most anticipated games of 2025, South of Midnight. This isn't any kind of paid promo or anything, I just got to play early at home on my own Xbox, so let's get into it. Now I am going to be upfront, I heavily debated on even making this video, not because I didn't want to or like it or anything like that, but I guess I thought this preview was going to be a little bit longer than I anticipated. I got to play one chapter, which was chapter 3, and it lasted maybe an hour. I definitely anticipated it being just a little bit longer, but again, we'll get into that later. This may feel a little discombobulated, and if so, I apologize. Again, this was a little bit of a different kind of preview than I had received before, especially in regards to length. Now let's go ahead and get into the things that I enjoyed. The visuals in this game absolutely rock. This game is going to have so much sauce from a stylistic and visual choice. Again, I only got to look at one area, but if there are new and unique locations every single chapter, this could be really cool and unique. Also, the storytelling and voice acting, absolutely superb and top-notch. I feel like if you have seen any of the previews of this game, you should completely be expecting that. You're playing as Hazel, who has just learned she's a weaver. She can see things and do things that other people can't. She's recently lost her house and her mom, and you're on your way looking for her when you run into this giant catfish. He has some information regarding your mom, and he'll lend it to you if you assist him. And again, all the voice actors are doing amazing work. The cutscenes were very interesting, and the way the story was told, I thought was great. I think I will be even more invested by playing the first 2 chapters, of course, and if this trend continues, I am sure this game is going to have a story to remember. But again, it is really hard for me to get any kind of big picture being thrown in the middle of a story. Now, another thing to note, this is probably going to be a negative for some, not to me. Again, I just figured I'd mention this. This game is super linear. Think The Last of Us, old school PS3 games, very little room for exploration. You can kind of venture off and go find some extra collectibles. That's about it. Again, I feel like linear titles have somewhat been looked down upon for in recent years, and I really don't get it. Games for years were nothing but linear, and they were superb. Not every single video game needs to be 100+ hours. Again, I thought it was just worth mentioning in case people were curious and didn't know what to expect. Now, what I was most excited about and was confirmed in this little demo was the music. It will be an absolute banger and have an even bigger impact on the overall story than I expected. Not only is the regular score just so well fitting for this world and characters, we reached kind of the climax of this story at the end of the demo, and there was this really cool moment where the song was telling this tragic backstory of this character you just learned about while you're doing some traversal. This giant tree is moving around. I don't know how to explain it, but I thought it was awesome.
Excuse me. Benji?
To blame Benji, my mother's favorite son. For her and my family, my plan had begun.
And I really hope they have more big set piece moments in this full game with the music kind of helping with the storytelling. Again, I really did not expect that, but I should have kind of anticipated it. But this music looks like it's going to have a big impact in its storytelling. It may seem like a very small thing, but I thought it had a great effect, and it easily got me more excited about the game. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, for the most part, it feels pretty good. You've got minor platforming sections, you gain different abilities, I got a double jump, gliding, and wall running pretty early on. I'm also really hoping there are some other abilities to attain as the game kind of progresses. I do think it'd be a little disappointing if they ended it off here, but I don't think they really will. Now, the combat is something I had the most questions on after seeing that initial trailer. And if I'm being honest, I definitely think it was the most underwhelming part of this package. And I have to preface again, this was chapter 3. I hardly had any skills or even that many encounters. But this is just based on what I saw. I was not too crazy about how you're kind of locked into this specific area with all the enemies just kind of spawning right in front of you. You've got light attacks with no real combos, a few abilities, you have 3 main ones. You can pull enemies in, sustaining them, or blasting them. And after you deplete each of their their health, you get to unravel them by clicking a button. We even got to look at the skill tree, which seemed pretty small. I did get to unlock 2 different abilities during this build, and all they really did was make my attacks just like a little stronger. It didn't really add to the overall gameplay that much or give me too many new skills. Now, what I am hoping for is that this is just kind of one way of combat, and maybe there's like a new weapon later on or a new ability skill tree, you know, with even bigger stuff. But again, I'm not 100% sure. This is just based off what I've seen. I was also a little concerned with the enemy variety. I would love to see that every area had their own unique enemies. I really think this is going to get stale if they've got these same black blobs over and over again. Just seemed like a really bland enemy type, especially considering how interesting the world design is. I also know we have some boss battles based on the trailer, but I did not get to deal with a single one here, and I'm not really sure how these are going to play out. I kind of wish I had got to play this mission and then maybe like one a few chapters ahead, just so I could kind of see how this combat system evolves, or, you know, maybe doesn't. Just being honest, I do have a little bit of a hard time seeing how this could evolve into something bigger, but I really hope I'm wrong. Now, even if the combat doesn't get any better, I still think that the narrative and world remain as interesting as they were in this game. It'll be an easy recommendation, especially being a game coming day one to Game Pass. There are numerous story-driven games with very minimalistic gameplay that are all-time greats. But it would be nice to have both a great story and an interesting combat system. So I'm not really going to drag this one out because, again, the build went very fast in around an hour, but I just wanted to kind of hop on here, give you guys my quick thoughts, because I'm still very much looking forward to this full game. I'll be covering it sometime in April, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys when the full review drops.